And hey, it's the top of the hour, so we want to welcome you to Top 5 Ways to Increase Your Sales Results. I'm Mark Hunter, and you are?
Meredith Elliott Powell. This is going to be a dynamite masterclass. We're going to dive into some things that you need to be doing to really take it over the top to really drive your sales results.
And along the way, we're going to tell you about a special offer that we have because we've put together an elite coaching program that we want many of you to take advantage of. So we're going to be sharing it with you at the end, along with some neat bonus offers and so forth. So stick with us to the end. Hey, Meredith, before we get going, we should tell the audience, how did you wind up in sales?
Yeah, my journey to sales is I came reluctantly into sales. A sales professional was not anything I ever really wanted to be, but I wound up early in life needing to be the breadwinner in my family. And as a young female at that time, that was probably my best option to be able to make money and still be able to have a little bit of free time as well. And so it took me a lot of years and a lot of hard knocks to figure out how to sell and sell effectively. But I tell you, ever since I got on board, I am passionate about selling. And it is such a great profession to be in. What about you, Mark?
Well, I came about it a little bit differently. I came about it by way of the police department. Yeah, it was my senior year of college. I bought a new car. And problem is it went too fast. No, I drove it too fast. I got too many speeding tickets. I got out of college and I could not afford car insurance. Sales was not something I wanted to go into, but I got into it because my insurance was so high. I couldn't afford my car payment and insurance. So I wound up getting a job with a company car. That is how I wound up in sales. And I, like you, kind of stumbled around a little bit initially. And it really wasn't until my third sales job that my boss sat me down and I really began to understand what sales is all about. And I'll tell you what, ever since then, I've been passionate about it. So, hey, with that, top 5 ways to increase your sales results. We got 45 minutes to make this all happen. So let's jump into number one. Number one is own your avatar. Mary, you got some thoughts on that, I'm sure.
I got a lot of thoughts on this. I mean, everybody starts with defining your target market. And I think that is so yesterday's news. Just last week, I was listening to a podcast with the founders of Lululemon, a company called Cauliflower, and another little company that many of us have heard of called Chick-fil-A. And the one thing that all of these CEOs, all of these entrepreneurs had in common is that they were radical about their avatar. They knew who their ideal customer was down to their psychographics, their demographics, giving that person a name and understanding what their likes and what their dislikes are. So if you want to really drive sales results, you have to go a level deeper than you have ever gone on really defining your avatar and your ideal target market.
And when you do that, what this means is it's getting very narrow as to who your avatar is. I'll tell you what, the days of just spraying it across the ocean, trying to reach everybody is long gone. In today's market, you've got to be so different, so unique that your customer sees you as absolutely unique. And think about this for a moment. If you're B2B, businesses don't make decisions. It's the people within the decisions. What are those nuances? What are those things that the individuals within the business that you're dealing with, what drives them? What are they comprised of? If you think about Chick-fil-A, they're radically different because they know exactly who their customer is. And now if others come along, that's fine, but they know exactly. Lululemon, same thing. They get extremely tight. And when you do, you're able to create a real premium offering for your customer.
Yeah, Vincent just asked if Meredith, are you saying we need to get even more granular on your target market? Right on, Vincent. Let me explain it like this. You need to understand that in today's marketplace, business grows from the inside out. So that means if I am calling on Mark Hunter trying to get his business, Vince, if you're a customer of mine already, he's going to ask you what your experience is like with me. And I think as sales professionals, we need to understand we can't make everybody happy. So the better you understand your ideal target market, the more likely that that deal will close faster. That person will be happy and they'll refer you business. So Vincent, what do I mean by this? I'm going to tell you what I'm doing in my own business is I gave my avatar a name. I have an age range on them. I know that they are family oriented. My avatar has a growth mindset. My avatar is an athlete, like a weekend athlete. Fitness and health are important to them. They're wildly successful in their business and looking to take the business to the next level. They're incredibly confident. They're really humble. You're getting the idea that I'm going over. So when I am working with people, I am interviewing for those types of traits. And just last week, I had the opportunity in front of a new prospect. They didn't fit my bill. They were kind of arrogant. They weren't humble. They weren't quite successful. They were struggling, but they weren't open to new ideas. Now, in an old marketplace, it would be okay for me to close that deal. But imagine if I closed that deal today, I couldn't do a good job for that person. They're going to tell 10 other people. So if you want to drive sales results, you got to sell from a place of power rather than a place of need. And you got to get really, I love your word, Vincent, really granular on this target market.
Hey, there's so many things that you said there that I want to add to. First of all, you were talking about the individual within the business. You see, it's so important that when we talk about owning your avatar, it's, yeah, the business you're selling to, but it's the individual within the business. And you heard Meredith describe that. She also made the comment that if it's not in your avatar, don't waste your time on it. Can't stress this enough, because here's the whole thing. It's not good enough just to sell to somebody, because here's the deal. If that doesn't go right, like I said, they're going to tell 10 other people. They're going to tell 100 other people. The marketplace talks. So you've got to stay absolutely tight. And the third thing is, when you are outside your avatar, it stresses you out. It's additional work. Don't try to pick up the one-offs over there. Stay absolutely tight, because your most critical asset is you and how you spend your time. So the more knowledgeable, the more of an expert you can be with your avatar, that's how you're seen as the true expert. Hey, we should jump on to number 2. You ready?
Yeah, I want to make one more comment though. And
Sure.
somebody make a mention in the Q&A about personas. And Mark, I feel like we are just scratching the surface of everything that we could talk about. So if any of this is appealing to you and you want to go deeper on these pieces, think about joining the Sales Logic Mastermind, because Rachel, what you said about buyer personas, oh my gosh, I could talk for an hour on that. All right, Mark,
Well,
strategy 2.
exactly. Because again, we're doing 5 of these in 45 minutes, and it's tight. Hey, number 2 there. Number 2. Let me try to get to slide number 2. There it is. It is dominate your market. Go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, dominate your market. You have got to realize that in today's marketplace, the buying starts before you ever interact with your customer. So you have got to focus really, really strong on building your reputation in the marketplace. People have to have heard of you and about you before you ever interact with them. I always say that buying anything today, especially like your products and services, is like shopping for water at the grocery store. It's the most overwhelming aisle and you don't know what to buy, but you buy the bottle of water you recognize. So think about this. Watch your own buying behavior. You only return a call and you only return an email, or you only return a text from somebody you have heard of and you have heard about. You have to understand who your ideal target is and then how you're going to get in their line of fire.
Now, stop and think about this. When you dominate your market, that means you've got to really own your avatar. You see how number 2 builds on number 1? That's exactly what we're talking about here today, because again, it's about extreme efficiency. Dominate your market. I'm going to go back to Jack Welch when he was CEO of GE. He said, we're only going to participate in categories that are number 1 or number 2. And you know what he did? If they weren't number 1, they redefined the category. They redefined it to where they were number 1. Now stop and think about this for a moment. The solution you provide. When your customers are thinking about, hey, how to get that solution taken care of, how to get that problem taken care of, are they thinking of you or your competitor? You see, when you dominate your market, they think of you. This is why it's so critical that you've got to define your avatar and put your message absolutely tight so that now your messaging can be efficient and effective. Because otherwise, what happens is you're just putting a lot of stuff out there. You're busy, but you're not productive. Now, here's the key thing: when you're dominating your market, you're not just putting your name out there, but you're educating the market. You're helping them to see that you are the value added solution. Because what I want to do when I dominate my market, I get customers that come to me. I get business that comes to me. I get customers that refer me to other people. Dominating your market means that everything you do is absolutely aligned. Meredith, you do a magnificent job of that because all of your messaging is very much focused around, go ahead and share your niche.
Well, yeah, my niche is thriving in uncertainty. And we really want you to get return on investment from this masterclass. So number one, you are going to get, I'm going to use Vincent's terminology because I love it. And I love what Rachel said too, that you're going to get granular, like write down your top 10 customers and then look at everything that they have in common and try to give that person as much shape and detail as you can. Then in this second piece of dominating the market, ask yourself, where does this group look for information? What do they read? Where do they go for social media? Who do they talk to? Like, what are their touch points to get answers to the questions that they have? And then ask yourself, what are you doing to get in front of them at those points? We're going to get to the type of messaging you should use. But the point right here is we've identified the best person. Now we're just going to put ourselves in front of them. What do you think the chances are you're going to drive sales results just by those first two steps, right? So those are basically our advice.
I'll tell you what, that's absolutely outstanding. Let's go ahead and move to number 3 here. Number 3 is be one step ahead of your customer. Now stop and think about this for a moment. You see how each one of these is building on the previous one, and I can't stress this enough, but being one step ahead. We talk about value proposition. That's yesterday's term. That is yesterday's term. It's how do I anticipate where the customer is going? I love to use the word downstream. What are the challenges that our customers are dealing with? Now stop and think about that for a moment. If you can't address the issues that your customers are dealing with and the issues their customers are dealing with, how are you ever going to be one step ahead? You're going to be one step behind. And you know what's interesting? When I react to the marketplace, I'm a commodity. When I act on the marketplace, act to create the marketplace, I become profitable. Mayor, jump in.
Impressive. All right. So this is what I think. I think that a sales call is 100% a privilege. And you got to realize when you get in front of that customer, you have to really be bringing something that is going to help them elevate their business to the next level. So we've chosen the right target. We're in their line of fire with the right messaging. Now we need to get them to choose us over the competition. Everybody's selling a product or service. That is not what your customer is looking for. There's not one single customer you have that can't sit home in their underwear and Google and buy anything they want to. What they're looking for is a sales professional who understands them. And as Mark said, is one step ahead of them. And what do I mean by that? I mean by the fact that people will, I had a CEO say to me, I do not need another sales professional walking into my office asking me what keeps me up at night. I need a sales professional to walk in here, tell me what's keeping me up at night, and then tell me what I need to do to get a good night's sleep. That is the essence of this strategy. People hire me not because I'm Meredith Elliott Powell. They've never heard of me, never heard of my business. They hire me because they think I understand their problems better than they do, and that I have the solution to solve them. I'm going to give you a really quick example of how you should model this step. You need to be the Uber in your industry. Uber was invented because of what wasn't being filled in the marketplace. Uber simply listened to what customers were complaining about. Customers were complaining about rude drivers, overpricing, and unclean cabs. They provided a model that listened to the customer. Go listen to what customers are complaining about that isn't being taken care of. That is your path to profitability and growth.
See, I'm going to challenge everybody here to say, how much of your time do you actually spend listening, not selling to your customer, but truly listening to your customers? I'm going to challenge you to have a listening tour with your existing customers. Hey, have a listening tour with your existing customers to find out what's going on in their business. Because here's the deal. If I sell you something, it's like giving you a fish. If I help you get ahead and I help you with your customer's customer, I'm now showing you how to fish, so I no longer have to give you a fish. Am I putting myself out of business? No, I'm actually making myself more valuable because you're going to see me in a completely different light. Here's a mark that I love to have happen. When I'm able to share with a customer something about their customers that they didn't know, stop and think about that. When was the last time you shared with your customers something they didn't know? And then the question is, how did they respond? You see, because now what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to enter into a different level of conversation, a different level of conversation that's going to have me many times asking you questions that you can't answer and I can't answer, but it's going to beg the conversation. You see, when I get to be one step ahead of the customer, they're going to now start looking to me for input. They're going to now start looking to me for hey, help with this, help with that. And stop and think about that. Does that raise your value? Does that separate you from the noisy marketplace out there? It sure does. Now, I want you to pause for a second and think about the three that we've gone through. Number one was own your avatar. See, when you're so tight on your space. Then we said two, dominate your market. So your messaging, you see how being one step ahead of your customer now lays it in. So I'm gonna give you homework here. And boy, Mayor, I wish we had time to dive much deeper into these. That's why the Sales Logic Mastermind is so critical. But stop and ask yourself, what are the 5 or 10 questions that you need to research on your own, and 5 or 10 questions that you need to ask your customers, both customers who have bought from you, customers who have turned you down. Because when you go through that exercise and you begin to look at the results, it's going to have you really understanding how you can not just be one step ahead of the customer, but stay one step ahead. That's how you leave your competition behind. Hey, any other comments, any other thoughts you got on that?
No, I love this one. I mean, I could talk about it for hours. In fact, I think this is I think this is one of the biggest missteps by sales professionals today, is to use the biggest challenges. If you want to drive sales results, really using the biggest challenges facing your customers today. And that is the path to driving sales, profitability, and growth.
And, I love it because it really is what moves you from a commodity to a premium added, source. And
Yeah.
how many times have you and I both heard that, oh, I get beat up on price. I get beat up on price. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're getting beat up on price, you got to stop and ask yourself, am I one step ahead of my customer? No, you're not, because you're reacting to the customer.
Yeah, I would
Mastering,
also,
jump in.
I was also just going to say that I find this, a conversation I'd love to have with it is how much this changes. Like, I know when my pipeline slows down, when my pipeline isn't being filled up, that the customer's challenges have shifted, and somehow I've missed it in my marketing messages. I've missed it in what I'm putting out there and the solutions that I'm solving. So I don't want anybody to think this is a stable challenge. It's something that needs to move quite a bit.
The marketplace is changing so radically because, I mean, if you go back, we were talking about this on one of our Sales Logic podcast episodes a few weeks ago, at how rapidly the marketplace has changed. So when you talk about having this listening tour, you got to be doing it literally every day. You got to be continuously doing it, finding out, because again, your value proposition, as soon as you create it, it's outdated. It's outdated. This is why number 3 here is so important. Number 4, let's jump to it. Oh, I love number 4. Sell from the inside out.
Yeah, Mark, I'm going to let you take this one as soon as I want to answer Vincent's question here. He said, would you say one step ahead is knowing your market and asking the questions correctly? Yeah, but Vincent, I would go one step forward, deeper with that. I would say being one step ahead is listening for what your customer is saying and what they're not saying. Like really reading between to try to figure out where the biggest, most urgent pain point is. But Mark, selling from the inside out has you written all over it. So I'm gonna give this one to you to start.
Hey, but you know what? I got to go back and I got to add something to what Vincent
Okay.
shared because that's a great question, Vincent. I'm going to tell you, would you say one step ahead is knowing your market and asking the questions correctly? It is. And you know what it did? Whatever the customer shares with you, it's asking them another question. It's keeping the engagement of asking questions going. Never, ever let go of that. Okay, number 4, selling from the inside out. Hey, here's something. We got to stop closing sales. I hate the term closing sales. We open a relationship. We open a relationship because here's the whole deal. Every sale I do, in fact, the only good sale is one that leads to the next sale. Now, does that mean I'm taking advantage of the customer? No, I'm helping them in more ways. Selling from the inside out. I was with an organization just 2 weeks ago, and I challenged them. I said, how many relationships do you have with each one of your major customers? And it's interesting, the number of account executives raised their hand and meekly said 1 or 2 or 3. And I said, hold it. These are multi-million-dollar accounts for us. How can you let this? No, you've got to broaden the number of relationships you have with them. Why? Because again, you're able to practice every one of the previous steps we've been talking about. That is so powerful. But selling from the inside out is really going deep into the organization to finding how else you can help them. Now, what's very interesting is it not only is it you selling them, but you may be able to refer somebody else into that. You may have somebody else that you say, hey, you know what? Here's another company you should take a look at. They really provide. See, selling from the inside out is serving the customer from the inside out. Mayor, I'm going to run down a long road on this, but I want you to jump in and share some thoughts.
Yeah, so my feeling on selling from the inside out is I think one of the greatest tips is to write down all the products and services you offer, everything that you can offer in your company, and then write down your top 25 customers and then start to compare. My experience with it is most customers have about 1 or 2 products with your business. They have the opportunity to have 7 or 8. And what selling from the inside out means is the fastest path to an easy sale is to sell to people who already love you and trust you. But the worst thing that can happen to you in an uncertain marketplace, the absolute worst thing, is not that you don't get the sale. It is that one of your existing customers finds out about a product or service they need from somebody else other than you. Now, why is that bad? Because it breaks trust. See, in today's marketplace, when somebody buys from you, they believe that you're on their team. And the moment they believe that they're on your team, they think you are going to reach out and take care of them. So I'm not big on being aggressive at the beginning of the sale. But the moment somebody buys from me, I'm aggressive on the back end because we've built that connection and relationship. So the strategy on the table to you is go out and get those existing customers, write them down, then write down a grid and match it.
And with that grid, write down the solution that you provide the customer when they buy from you. In other words, here's this product list that you've got. Here's all these services you do. But what are the benefits? What are the outcomes? When you understand the benefits and the outcomes you create for your customers because of what they buy, that's going to help you be more in tune to listening and hearing what's going on there. This is so key because here's the whole thing. If all we're doing is walking in and kind of putting a price list on the table, so to speak, go old school there with a price list. And no, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm listening. Now stop and think about this for a moment. If I've sold you something, and that means there's a level of credibility. That means there's a level of respect. There's a relationship that has been built. I want to now take that and be able to build on that. If I don't, you know what? I'm actually doing the customer a disservice because I took all this time of theirs to create one sale. Why would I not leverage their time even more efficiently and effectively by helping me sell additional things? One of the challenges when we say sell from the inside out also is this whole idea of, and I see this with a lot of AEs, I see this with a lot of comp plans, where the AE is only going to get compensated on that first sale. So what they do is they hold out and try to land that big sale. The big sale, it never comes. What I want to say is this. Hey, I want to land small and land and expand. Now stop and think about that. I want, again, you to look at all of your customers and what you've sold them. Have you expanded on them? Have you expanded on them? And if you haven't expanded on them, you're doing your customers a disservice. Again, like I said earlier, because you took time away from them to only create one sale. Hey, we got some great questions that have come in. I believe it was where is that question from Emmanuel, who wrote
Basically asking about the cultural impact.
yes. Let's answer that for a bit.
Go for it.
Okay, hey, here's the whole thing. Yes, without a doubt, cultural fit is absolutely key. This is where you've got to say, hey, does this line up with your avatar? And this go back to what Mare said right up front. She said she looks at them from a personal standpoint and a business standpoint. This is key. Okay, so if you've done that, that means culturally there's probably fit. Now, there may be still wild differences. That's okay. Meredith and I are radically different in some ways. It's okay. But culturally different means it just means that I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to understand. And as long as we keep our focus on the focus, it is amazing at what we can accomplish. That's the key thing. Your whole goal in sales is to help others see and achieve what they did not think was possible. To do that, it just requires radical listening. When we radically listen, it is amazing how we'll hear. And what happens is the customer now begins to develop a level of trust in you. All cultural differences fall away when there's a level of trust. When there's a level of trust, it is amazing at what the customer will share with you. How do I define trust? I define trust this way. Is the customer sharing with me proprietary information? What's proprietary information? That's information not known publicly. If they're sharing with me information that's not known publicly, that means they must trust me. And you know what's very interesting? Trust creates a deeper conversation. And oh, by the way, something else that's not radical, it's very basic if you stop and think about it. In the absence of trust, price is everything. If there is trust, negotiation falls away. If there is trust, price falls away because there is a relationship between the two. Okay, I could run down the path on that one for a bit, for a long ways, but we got to jump to number 5.
Can I make a comment just on Emmanuel's question?
Yes. I'm sorry, I answered
that's
that.
okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just want to make a comment on it. I think it is such an it is so important. I think when we understand and we pay attention to as sales professionals what is important to our customer, we send a signal that this relationship will always be more about them than it is about us. And talk about a way to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So, Emmanuel, whether it's culture, whether it's communication, whether it's time they have allotted, but just picking up on those nonverbal cues of what matters, of what really matters to them is important. I'll give you a great example. I was working with a client who their Saturday is their Sabbath, and I'm very conscious never to contact them on a Saturday, because Saturday is their Sabbath day and they're not on email and they're not on phone mail. Now, I don't think they would mind if I emailed them or sent them a note, but I'm being culturally sensitive because that's important to them. So I think you bring up such a great importance. And in today's marketplace, if you want to drive sales results, it's the little nuances, it's the tiny things that are going to make the difference, because we can get the product anywhere. I'm sorry, Mark, roll into
No, I think that's
number 5.
spot on, because what you're doing is you're saying, I'm allowing you to be authentic. I'm allowing you to be authentic, and I'm being genuine to you. And in this noisy marketplace that doesn't seem to take into accord any personal factors, if I can take into accord personal factors about you, I'm going to be seen as somebody different. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to be able to break through. And that creates a great relationship. Hey, great questions coming in. And hey, you know what? We're just really smattering the top line of this. And like I said, we dive a lot deeper into this in the Sales Logic Mastermind. Okay, number 5. Number 5. This is yours. This has got Meredith written all over it.
Yeah,
Radical.
radical follow-up. The
Oh,
sale happens in the follow-up. It always happens in the follow-up. Follow-up is the most ignored part of the sales process and the most important part of the sales process. The top two reasons we don't follow up. Number one, we think that people aren't interested. Absolutely not true. People are busy today. They have a lot on their plate. And all of us have had that completely hot conversation. We're so sure somebody's going to buy, and then they never call us back. And we think it has something to do with us. It doesn't. They just got busy. The second reason we don't want to follow up is because we think if we keep reaching out and following up with people, we'll be annoying. Well, the truth is, if you do just keep reaching out and following up, you're annoying. You're so annoying that you're never going to get the business. You have to strike the balance. And the way that you strike the balance is that you need a well-oiled, nurturing follow-up system. You know, Mark, I just shared in our Sales Logic Mastermind my secrets for the entire sales process for follow-up, as well as the email that I get that gives you permission to follow up without being annoying.
yeah. And I remember I shared on a mastermind call back here a month or two ago my whole plan of what I call the 10 list, creating these informational lists that I send out to prospects. I send out to people that haven't responded, and I use that to keep engaged. It is so key, and again, that's one of the beautiful things about the mastermind, because we get to share at a lot deeper level all these various ideas and strategies that work so well. Something that I'm going to go back to, and I've heard this from multiple people who are absolute top performers. When I mean top performers, in the top 1% of salespeople, they routinely say that their job is boring. Their job is absolutely boring because it's a routine. It's absolutely routine. Radical follow up does not happen unless you have a very explicit routine that you follow and you stick with it. Now, I want you to go back and think about how radical follow up would occur if you were spraying and praying across all kinds of different verticals, all kinds of different groups, all kinds of different customers. You wouldn't be able to do it. This is why we talk about number one, number two, number three, and number four, because when you get tight, it is amazing how the radical follow-up you create, like the email that you shared, the mastermind call we had a few weeks ago, where you're able to really use that across multiple prospects, multiple customers. It's the same thing with what I call my 10 list. I'm able to do that. And what does it do? It allows for incredible efficiency of time. And it avoids that very stupid radical follow-up where people are literally sending the same email out over and over and over again. You know, you send me a stupid email, I'm going to view it as a stupid email. You send it to me 5 times, now I'm going to know that not only is it a stupid email, but you're stupid too.
Yeah.
The sale, why do you think, Mayor, people don't follow up the way they should?
I think they don't follow up the way that they should for the top two reasons I said. I think we worry that we're going to be annoying, and I think that we don't follow up because we don't know how to follow up, or we think people aren't interested, and it just isn't. It just isn't true. But I also think people don't follow up because they don't have things like a well-oiled follow-up system, and you need a system. You need a process of how to follow up.
I think that's so key because, man, it drives me crazy. You're like me, and well, you're much better salesperson than me, but I've got prospects that it took me multiple years to close, multiple years. I could easily have given up on them. But here's something I had to keep in mind. A, just because I'm thinking about them doesn't mean they're thinking about me. I can think of 2 examples where it took me well over 2.5 years to close, probably 20, 30, 40 touches. Now, think about that. If I had to do each one of those different and sit there and stress out over what, no, I was able to follow up with them very, very quickly, very, very easily. What does it do? It allows me to use my time efficiently and ultimately allow me to close that sale. Hey, we've gone through 5 things, but I got 5 questions I want to ask you. I really want to ask you these 5 questions. Where are you at with the 5 items we just discussed? Now, if you think about that, tremendous amount of content that we shared. But again, are you applying it? And of course, you can go a lot deeper. Are you focused with your process? The vast majority of salespeople that Mary and I talk to all the time really don't have a process that they stick to. it just becomes kind of, they just do stuff. Are you clear with your objectives? I mean, do you really understand who your objectives are, and where are you going with your, and how do you know you're going to achieve your objectives? What's holding you back? Surprisingly enough, what's holding you back is a lot less than you think. Because what's holding you back is really just your own mindset as to how you look at things. We all like to think, oh, we got to have this process, this tool, this tool, this tool. I got to buy this, I got to buy that. It's not as complicated as you think once you get your head wrapped around right. And how much more successful could you be? This is why we want to encourage you right now. I can't stress this enough. We have a number of people who are on this call who are members of the Sales Logic Mastermind, and they know the value of it. They know what it's like, everything they get. But we're introducing today the Sales Logic Mastermind and the Elite Coaching platform that goes along with it. This is absolutely cool. I'm going to share with you an example of the Elite Coaching here in just a bit. And also for today, if you sign up, and you can use either the URL down below or just hit the QR code to get registered for today's bonus offer we're going to include. Okay. Mayor, should I explain what's in each of these?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, if nothing else, we're on a mission. You guys have been amazing today. We want you to drive sales next year. And here's the great thing about everything we're offering. When you invest in sales, it is easy to get return on investment. One more client, one more product sold, and you are ahead of the game.
This really is a no-brainer. Hey, here's what you get in the Sales Logic Mastermind. Monthly group call with Q&A. You've heard Meredith and I reference that. You get all access to the Sales Logic Vault, which is just a ton, there's a technical term, of content, video, audio, written, all kinds of stuff of Mayor and myself, training programs, all right there in the Sales Logic Vault. You get 24/7 access to the Sales Logic Brain. What's Sales Logic Brain? That's where we took all of Meredith's content, all of my content, put it together, and you can ask it any question. And you know what's interesting? You get an answer that is absolutely unbelievable. That's available 24/7. Now think about that. Plus, you get a daily motivation and a sales strategy video message every day. And there's a whole lot more. That's what's in the mastermind. Now, let me show you what's in the Elite Coaching, because this is brand new. You are the first people to see this. First of all, you get everything in the mastermind program. But then you get a monthly coaching assessment plan. I'll walk you through some examples here in just a bit. Monthly assessment call, where you're going to be called you're going to be called to task as to how you're doing on your assessment plan. This is called accountability. This is called, I don't want to say getting in your face. We could get in your face, but it really is calling you out. Plus, you get 24/7 role play. Now, this is an additional feature to the brain that you will actually be able to role play with the brain. In other words, you set the brain up as if they were your customer. And you literally, now think about that. You're about ready to go into a major call. Oh man, am I ready? Am I ready? You can sit there and literally role play with the brain because you've told the brain exactly how you want, what type of customer you have, et cetera, et cetera. Powerful. Plus, you get the monthly assessment feedback from us. Hey, this is unbelievable. Okay, so what's that all about? Well, also the bonus offer, because you're going to get never lose on price, top 10 ways to get in the door, 5 things that drive the C-suite crazy, 33 days to having a mind for sales, and secrets of the top performing salespeople. That's just bonus offers. Okay, hey, here's the deal. We have done everything possible to make this happen. The Sales Logic Mastermind is normally $2,000 a year. Right now, it's only $1,200 for you. Hit the QR code, or hit the URL at the bottom. The Sales Logic Mastermind plus the Elite Coaching, that's really $4,500 a year. Right now, today, $1,950. That is a very cheap investment on you. You may be a sales manager watching this. Grab it, because as a sales manager, this is a powerful tool for you. And today's bonus offer, that's $450 worth of additional content. We're giving it to you for free. What do you think, Mary?
Free.
You think?
I think those bonus offers alone are worth so much. Mark, could you just go back to the bonuses? Because I want to talk
Sure.
about them. I want to
Yes.
talk about them a
Let's
second.
go back.
Top 10 ways to get in the door for a C-suite. This was developed for my top 10 clients as a value add for them. It's one of the biggest challenges facing leaders today. And this is how you get into the door. 5 things that drive the C-suite crazy and what is costing you the sale. How much is that worth? 33 days to have a mind for sales. It is all about the mindset and the secrets of the top performing salespeople. All of those, plus the discounts, are available for you today. We want you to join us in the Sales Logic Mastermind. We are super excited about rolling out the Elite Mastermind and really want to invite you to join us for both of these programs and get in the door to drive sales next year.
Yeah. Hey, I want to show you an example of what the elite coaching program is all about. This is amazing because we've programmed the brain to do some things exclusively for the elite coaching now. Hey, think about this for a moment. So I said, okay, what does Mark say about prospecting? So our brain comes back and gives a bunch of answers here, and yeah, absolutely spot on. But more importantly, now think about this. Here's resources referenced up there at the top, additional resources. So in other words, it gives you additional stuff. Okay, you say, hey, that's artificial intelligence. Yeah, but you know what? Let's go a little step further. Based on the summary, you see how I wrote? Based on this summary, what are the top 4 things I can do in what order? Now it takes it, it goes even deeper into this. Now stop and think about this as a salesperson. This gives you 24/7 coaching. But now, let me scratch my head here for a bit and say, how do I turn this into a tracker for my sales team? You see that? You see that right down there at the bottom? So let's turn it into a tracker for my sales team. Look at this. It actually builds a tracker that you can use for your sales team. And it gives you instructions for your sales team. This is why I say you got to hit the QR code. You got to go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You got to grab this program. Because then here's the other thing. Now create a daily huddle of these measurements. Now think about this for a moment. Hey, we'll say you have a 5-minute call, a 10-minute call with your team in the morning. Boom! Here's all the content for you. This thing is so gold, it's unbelievable. And then I can go even further. Create a 30-day social marketing strategy. I was just playing around with it. Now I'm going to create a 30-day social. Think about this. Whether I'm an individual producer or I'm a sales leader, I'm literally using this to create my entire plan. This is why we call it the elite coaching, and it's so unbelievable. And then I'm going to say, hey, show specific example of actual messages. Now, I'm probably not going to use the exact text it gives me, but boy, I'm 90% of the way there. Now, stop and think about that. When we talked about follow-up, radical follow-up, isn't this going to be the tool that's going to help you do radical follow-up? When we talked about, understanding your customer at a whole different level, yeah, it's going to help you do that. That's why we're excited to offer this. We're offering, and I'll tell you, hey, if you're watching this and you're part of the mastermind, and you say, hey, I want to upgrade to Elite, email me, okay? And we'll get you set up just for the price difference, okay? It's okay. I'll make sure to get you set up because again, I know we have a lot of mastermind members that are going to say, I want to get to the Elite. If you're not in either of these programs, jump out there right now. I can't say it enough because it's interesting. We're March, what is it? March 13th.
Yeah.
You're going to get a payout on this multiple times over between now and the end of the year. In fact, I'm going to say you're going to get a payout on this within 30 days if you use it.
Easy, easy, easy. Mark, everybody wants you to put up that slide where you had the 5 questions on
Yes,
there. Can you put that back up?
I sure can.
And then I think we open the floor. If you have any other questions, anything else we can answer or do for you. And thank you, Mark Bregman. He said, just getting access to Mark and Meredith is so worth it. Mark is a superstar in our Sales Logic podcast. But if you want to be better at sales this year, if you want to get all of your questions answered, if you want accountability, if you want support, if you want community and you want results, join us at the Sales Logic Mastermind. And then if you want to take it over the edge, join the Elite group, because what is coming with that is going to be phenomenal. It is a drop in the bucket to what you've got to do to drive sales this year.
Yeah, because I didn't even have time to show the role play piece. I mean, the role play piece is it's scary. It's scary. But again, think about this. Anytime I'm going into a major call, I'm going to go through the role play, and I'm going to be able to role play exactly how the customer is probably going to respond. That right there, in and of itself, is a 10x return on investment. I can't stress this. What's holding you back? Really, just getting into the mastermind or the mastermind and elite coaching. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, how much more successful could you be? You know, I talked about the top performer. You could easily be a top performer if you're willing to make the move. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely. Well, we're going to open the floor for any questions. We are at time, so feel free to hop off. But if you want to ask Mark and I any questions, we're going to stay right here. You can just type them right into the Q&A, and we'll make sure that you continue to get return on investment from today's session.
And many of you are, because we're already I'm seeing orders come through. I'm seeing names come through. So hey, people out there are taking advantage of this right now. So that's great. Looking forward to having you on our first call here. So it's great.
All right. Thanks everybody again so much. I'll watch the Q&A here for a minute, but you have typed so many questions in. But if there's anything else we can do or answer for you, do not hesitate.
And please, if you have a question regarding elite coaching or the mastermind, email either Mayor or myself. Okay.